This is the first time you've appeared on a Sunday show since the Mueller report was released. And you said at the time in a statement, quote, "I am sickened at the extent and pervasiveness of dishonesty and misdirection by individuals in the highest office of the land, including the president. I am also appalled that, among other things, fellow citizens working in a campaign for president welcomed help from Russia." You and Congressman Amash are the only two elected Republicans, I think, to express any misgivings about the behavior of the president or his campaign team based on the Mueller report. First of all, are you surprised that you two are the only ones that have really said anything condemning of the president's behavior as laid out?
Well, I think every individual has to make their own judgment. I think it helps to actually have read the entire document. It's a long document. It took me 2 full days to get through it. And the second volume is a more difficult one to get through than the first. So hopefully more people read it. But I think there are a lot of people that want to reserve judgment until this is all played out. My own view is that Justice Amash has reached a different conclusion than I have. I respect him. I think it's a courageous statement. But I believe that to make a case for obstruction of justice, you just don't have the elements that are evidenced in this document. And I also believe that an impeachment call is not only something that relates to the law, but also considers practicality and politics. And the American people just aren't there. And I think those that are considering impeachment have to look also at the jury, which would be the Senate. The Senate is certainly not there either.
So you disagree with the call for impeachment. You don't think this necessarily rises to the level of impeachable offenses. So you don't think that there's evidence and there's sufficient evidence that the president obstructed justice?
I just don't think that there is the full element that you'd need to prove an obstruction of justice case. I don't think a prosecutor would actually look at this and say, okay, we have here all the elements that would get this to a conviction. So, everyone reaches their own conclusion. As I read the report, I was troubled by it, was very disappointing for a number of reasons, but it did not suggest to me that this was time to call for impeachment.
Do you think it's evidence that the president has disgraced the office of the presidency?
Well, I think a number of the things that were done were really, really troubling and unfortunate and distressing. Clearly, the number of times that there were items of dishonesty, misleading the American public and the media, those are things that really you would not want to see from the highest office in the land.
But not necessarily an abuse of power.
Well, abuse of power is going to be at a whole different level, which suggests an impeachment. I don't think impeachment is the right way to go. I think in part, one of the things that's difficult in order to make a case for obstruction of justice or impeachment is whether or not there was intent. And when there's not an underlying crime, I think it's difficult to put together an effective case to prosecute for those crimes.
You personally are somebody who has conducted himself according to a certain set of religious and ethical and moral principles throughout your life. I know you think about this and you talk about this. You've written about it. Do you think that the president has failed, based on what's in the Mueller report, as a moral leader? If not engaging in criminal conduct, is there a moral lacking there?
Well, through op-eds and through the things I've said, I made it very, very clear that I will support the president on policies where we agree. I'll disagree with him openly if there's something that I think is wrong for the country or for my state. But I think he could substantially improve his game when it comes to helping shape the character of the country. I think young people, as well as people around the world, look at the president of the United States and say, does he exhibit the kind of qualities that we would want to emulate? And those are qualities of humility, of honesty, integrity, and those are things where I think there's been some call where the president has distanced himself from some of the best qualities of the human character.